Tonight, a CBC exclusive.
Change your brainwaves, change your identity, change your identity, change your reality.
How a U.S. scientist experimented on Indigenous children from Saskatchewan to cure them of their trauma. Also, two well-known candidates throw their name into the race to become Saskatoon's next mayor. Plus, the last of the quadruplets born on Leap Day in Saskatchewan finally gets to join her siblings at home.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, June 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. 10 years ago, a U.S. brainwave scientist conducted an experiment primarily on Indigenous children from Prince Albert. The researchers said their technology could make the students smarter and happier and cure them of their traumas. But a critic describes the experiment as bonkers, and she's baffled that a Canadian university approved it. Jeff Leo has the exclusive investigation.
I begged her to go because I was so excited.
Back in 2014, 12-year-old China Gallerno heard about an opportunity at school for her and her mom. They could go on an all-expenses-paid trip to Victoria, BC for a week-long experiment called Brain School. On the first morning, technicians from Biocybernaut Institute began placing electrodes on their heads and told them they would be spending hours inside darkened chambers listening to their own brainwaves. All of this came as a shock to Alma.
We did not know about that until just when it started happening to us.
The Biocybernaut brochure said that this treatment, neurofeedback, could make you happier, increase your IQ, and help you overcome the effects of trauma. James Hart, the American psychologist who runs the program, has a simple pitch.
Change your brainwaves, change your identity, change your identity, change your reality.
Hart says scientific studies show that neurofeedback can make a difference, but critics say any difference detected is likely due to the placebo effect. Amanda Lavallee is a social work professor from the University of Victoria. She was asked to be part of the research team, but after attending the week-long brain school for herself, she said no.
Because I thought it was whacked, for a simple term. It was bonkers.
The study was reviewed and approved by the Research Ethics Board at the University of Regina. Because of that approval, the Prince Albert School Division agreed to support the study and allowed the brochures to be handed out.
Clearly, a serious mistake was made.
That's Ian Mosby, a medical historian and expert on unethical experimentation on Indigenous people. He reviewed the ethics application for the project, which CBC obtained through a Freedom of Information request. He was shocked to see that the application didn't spell out what would be done to the children.
That is totally unacceptable. There's no description anywhere in the REB application that actually talks about what that is. But it's actually the heart of the experiment.
In an email, the University of Regina says its ethics review board only reviewed a small portion of this study. It did not examine what Biocybernaut planned to do with the children. The university says it's sorry for any harm that may have been caused, and it notes it has since tightened up its ethics review process. As for Alma, China's mom, she says she hopes the focus on this story will lead to accountability. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Regina.
For more on Jeff's exclusive, you can tune in to The National tonight at 10 p.m. here on CBC Television. You can also find more on our website, cbc.ca/sask. Another former leader from Legacy Christian Academy is on trial in a Saskatoon courtroom today. Last fall, John Olubobukum pleaded not guilty to 8 counts of assault with a weapon. His trial is scheduled for this week, and today several former students spoke out about abuse from the former principal.
It's been an ongoing battle, and we're getting close to the finish line here, so we just got to see it through. It's definitely not easy being in the courtroom with your abuser in there. That's all I can really say about that right now.
Proceedings began with a court hearing. Olubobukum is facing an additional charge, and that means he's facing 9 in total. Today, court heard testimony from 3 Crown witnesses, brothers who all attended the school at some point. They spoke to punishment they received during that time, that paddling was the standard. and they described the wooden paddle as sturdy and thick, like a cricket bat. The Crown says it plans to call 6 witnesses in total, and the trial is scheduled to last through Thursday. Greg Fertuck should learn whether he's guilty of first-degree murder on Friday. That's when a Saskatoon judge is scheduled to give his decision. Fertuck is accused of killing his wife, Sherry, in 2015. Now, the trial began in 2021, and it has faced numerous delays. Dan Zakreski tells us about the latest.
Greg Fertuck came to court this morning to make 2 applications. 1, he wanted a mistrial, and 2, he wanted an expert to take a look at the firearm that the Crown says he used to kill his wife, Sherry.
Fertuck backpedaled on the mistrial application when the judge asked him to explain why he wanted a mistrial. It was a mistake, he said, and he didn't know how it ended up on the application. A farm couple discovered the supposed murder weapon underneath a granary west of the city. Fertuck says it's not rusty enough for a weapon left outdoors for years. He wanted scientists at a new ballistics lab in Saskatoon to examine it.
Fertuck tried to withdraw that application when he found out that the lab staff are not trained to analyze rust on metal, and that the lab doesn't do private work for individuals. The judge said he'll rule on it anyways, and he also said that he still plans this Friday to give the long-awaited decision on Fertuck's murder charge. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The race for Saskatoon's new mayor is heating up. Both Saskatoon City Councillor Cynthia Block and former Saskatchewan Party Cabinet Minister Gord Wyant tossed their hats in the ring this morning. Block says her top priorities include housing, homelessness, inclusivity, and revitalizing downtown, including the proposed entertainment district.
Anything that grows up in the district, the additional lift, stays in the district to pay for it. And in that way, potentially could stave off any property and any property tax impact for the entire area.
Block has served as a councillor since first being elected in 2016. She's also a former Liberal candidate and journalist. Meanwhile, Gord Wyant says he wants to make downtown safer and focus on affordability and transparency. Wyant has resigned as an MLA. He says he's also distancing himself from the government's new Parents' Bill of Rights. That's the one that requires parental consent for kids under 16 to use a new name or pronouns at school.
I didn't vote for it, and I think that indicates the fact that I wasn't supportive of the legislation and the way it was and the way it was brought forward. I have reached out to organizers of the Pride Parade. I'll be having conversations with them this week in terms of my participation.
Wyant says he's participated in almost every Pride Parade since he was a Saskatoon City Councillor. Saskatoon Pride has banned all Sask Party politicians from Pride events because of the pronoun policy. Before provincial politics, Wyant was a 3-term city councillor and practicing lawyer. Current mayor, Charlie Clark, announced earlier this year that he won't be running again. Kerry Tarasoff has announced he is planning to run again for mayor. He placed 4th in 2020. Civic elections are scheduled for November 13th. It's been a little over 3 months since a LaRange couple welcomed quadruplets on February 29th. The incredibly rare leap year day quads were born 3 months premature and required extra care in the neonatal ward. Now, all 4 are out of the hospital. Our Scott Larson stopped by to check in on the family.
To say Gilbert Morasti and Savannah Rat have their hands full would be an understatement. One by one, their quadruplets have been discharged from the hospital. They have 3 here, not that Gilbert can hold them all at once.
There you go. Oh, no, she didn't like it. Mom. Oh, gave me a heart attack.
This is a home away from home for the LaRange couple. They've been staying near the hospital at Saskatoon's Ronald McDonald House since giving birth to quadruplets on Leap Year Day.
This is Aaliyah. This is beautiful.
And this is Dominic.
Cecilia, the baby who stayed the longest in the hospital, was just released over the weekend. So what's their daily routine?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Pampers and bottles, man.
Yeah.
Pampers and bottles.
And burping them was getting pretty hard too.
Yeah, that's a big challenge, burping them, holy smokes.
But I'm starting to master it. Starting to get the hang of it.
As for sleep,
It's hard because I'm so exhausted that I can barely get sleep. But I still manage to keep going.
the odds of having quadruplets naturally is incredibly low. But to have them on leap year day, well, that's astronomically rare.
Oh, what's the matter?
Gilbert works at a northern uranium mine, and his shifts take him away for 4 weeks at a time.
I know they're in good hands with her. Like, she has super mom powers, right? And I'm just happy that our daughter is here to help her with that. So yeah, it's really stressful, I guess.
The couple already have 5 children between them, so the quads make 9, each one with their own personality.
They're all very grunty, like bossy.
She's the boss, though. he's more of a crybaby.
He's a baby.
She's really mellow.
She's the calm one.
At 3 months premature, the quads will have follow-up medical appointments, so the couple has decided to get their own place in Saskatoon instead of returning to their northern community. Despite the initial shock, the extra work, and the lack of sleep, the family is overjoyed.
Such a heartwarming feeling. Knowing I have all these babies, I could just turn over, hug that one, turn the other way, hug that one, then the other, and then the other.
Scott Larson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, it looks like the construction on Dewdney Avenue in Regina appears to be rain or shine, and rain it did in the Queen City today. What started as a sprinkle this morning certainly escalated, so what is to come for the rest of the week? Ethan will have your full forecast after the break. Stay with us. A new study has found a gap in representation on Canadian radio. For over a decade, songs by men have received far more airplay than women. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson explains why.
Can I be that one thing, can I?
Singer Katie Tupper came from Saskatchewan to Canadian Music Week in Toronto, an important annual showcase for new artists. But she's also hoping to grow her fan base the old-fashioned way by getting some radio play.
I think as a developing artist, that's like a big chunk of what your income is until you recoup on streams, until your shows are selling out and all of that.
Your love is like a paradise.
But entering that radio rotation in Canada may be tricky for female musicians, according to a new study. It looked at 150 most played songs on Canadian radio stations between 2013 and 2023 and found that women got a fraction of the play men got in all genre.
We see that country, alternative rock, and active rock play more songs by men than those by women. And then on the other hand, we see top 40 radio, mainstream AC, and hot AC. And while much more diverse there, women for the last 10 years have still been sort of underrepresented in those spaces.
16 carriages. And that's despite the omnipresence of female superstars like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and Adele. Experts say it's an industry-wide problem. Record labels have to choose to invest in women, signing them and then promoting them to the radio stations. There's also the matter of the disappearing middle-class musician, those who are not multimillionaires but are working and have some fan following.
You know, it's not only incredibly expensive to live, but if you're somebody who works in a precarious field like music, those effects are felt differently and more powerfully for somebody who is also experiencing marginalization based on gender, race, and class.
But young artists like Katie Tupper are working hard to break that glass ceiling, hoping to make music radio a place where all kinds of listeners can hear all kinds of voices. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Truck time is on now.
And And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. Quite the soggy start to the week.
Yeah, sure is. And no matter really where you were in south and central Saskatchewan, including both Regina and Saskatoon, we got quite the downpour at times today. And in fact, rain now kind of just coming to an end if you're in Saskatoon. And Regina, that is now moving off to the north as well. The whole system kind of breaking apart here as it continues to move off in a northeasterly direction. And I'll just give you an idea of how wide this system is, because you can see the front which extends from this down into the States, and it's actually triggering off some severe weather in parts of North and South Dakota this afternoon. And then we have a whole other system that's impacting northern Saskatchewan. Not quite as much rain from this, but it is bringing some showers through, and what cloud cover there might not have been in parts of the far north, you're getting some from this system now beginning to move across into the Saskatchewan side of the border. Temperatures generally uniform as these two systems starting to move in, so we're all kind of hovering in the mid-teens. Where the sun's coming out in the southwest now, we're jumping up closer to 20 degrees. Also some breaks of sun in the far north today, but it has been a little windy at times, especially in southeastern Saskatchewan. Nothing like last week, though. We have only seen gusts to maybe just over 50 kilometers an hour at times today, and those even now are starting to diminish. These two systems going to start to pull away, especially the one in south and central, so the rain is mostly over for us. Likely going to see some clearing overnight. For the north, may still be a bit of a showery and cloudy day tomorrow, but the rain mostly tapering off through the morning hours. South and central enjoying actually a mostly sunny day tomorrow before our next system starts to move through as we get into early Wednesday. Might see some showers and even some thunderstorms, some of which could be severe as we get into the afternoon on Wednesday for central parts of the province. And then Thursday, that leaves us kind of cloudy and showery for Saskatoon and central Saskatchewan. Southern parts of the province, though, likely going to remain mostly sunny. Just over these next few hours here, could see another maybe, I'd say, 10 to 15 millimeters at the most in east central parts of the province with this remainder of this system. And then the remainder of that rainfall is going to be largely based on where the thunderstorms pop up on Wednesday. And for northern Saskatchewan, again, maybe another 10 to 15 millimeters in eastern sections. Add a few more millimeters to that over these next couple of days with those systems passing by. But the wind, it's not going anywhere, unfortunately. A little bit breezy tomorrow, especially in southeastern Saskatchewan. But as that next low moves in on Wednesday, particularly in the south, we'll see those gusts start to pick up again from the west and northwest. Could be gusting to 60 kilometers an hour at times. But a nice warm one tomorrow for Regina before we see our own risk of thunderstorms Wednesday, and then seasonal conditions as we head into the weekend with maybe some showers here and there. Saskatoon, after a nice day tomorrow, some possibly severe storms Wednesday, left with cloudy and showery conditions for Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, just in time for the weekend. Sam, looks like things getting nice once again.
Perfect. I like the forecast, Ethan.
Well, thank you. So it's my
opinion matters everything.
Of course, yes. It's yours I care about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking for flowers, but the Riders are there to seal away the victory, and what a victory it was!
Well, Saturday marked a big game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. New head coach Corey Mace, his first regular season W as a head coach. The Green and White beat the Elks in Edmonton 29-21 on Saturday afternoon. The Riders also won both of their preseason games. The team is back to practice tomorrow before heading to Hamilton on the weekend. We'll be back after the break. An Ontario woman is going public again over a medical mistake. A broken needle left inside her spine after she gave birth. CBC News first reported on her story 4 years ago. As Rosa Marcatelli reports, the woman is still no closer to finding out who was responsible.
My pain is here to stay.
Giovanna Ippolito is living with a 4-centimeter-long broken needle in her spine. The doctor responsible failed to tell her or noted in her medical records when it happened during the births of one of her 2 children. Instead, it was discovered during an X-ray more than a decade later. She's told scar tissue makes it too dangerous to remove.
Somebody made a mistake many years ago, but now they need to be accountable for it.
Even walking down the stairs is hard, as Go Public first told viewers almost 4 years ago. Around that time, Ippolito started trying to find out which of the 2 anesthesiologists involved in the births is responsible.
Fast forward all these years later, both the hospital and the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons have been criticized for botching investigations into her case.
No due diligence. It just infuriates me.
The hospital was criticized by the province's patient ombudsman for unfairness and deficiencies in its patient complaint system. And the college was scolded by the Independent Health Professions Appeal and Review Board for failing to obtain the essential relevant information when it cleared both doctors in the case.
That includes neglecting to figure out what kind of needle it was, an epidural or a spinal, key information that may have identified the doctor responsible. Instead, they told Ippolito there's nothing they can do because the medical error wasn't noted in her records.
There's a real power imbalance in the sense of all the information about what happens to a patient is in the hands of potential defendants or in the hands of the medical professionals.
In March, that review board ordered the college to redo the investigations.
I do not want it to happen to anybody else, so I continue to fight.
So Ippolito waits again for the results of yet another investigation. Meanwhile, both the hospital and the college didn't answer GoPublic's questions about Ippolito's complaints, citing privacy. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And it looks like we'll be getting some clearing skies in Regina, even by midnight. Partly cloudy conditions, still a little bit on the breezy side, though, as we sit at a temperature around 12 degrees. Winds are going to stick with us again tomorrow, but the good news is, look at that, mostly sunny conditions. We're already at 14 by 8 a.m. and getting to the 20-degree mark likely by the noon hour as we see full sunshine under those west winds gusting to 40 at times. Saskatoon, again, things starting to clear out as the rain dies down through the evening, and then getting into tomorrow, you'll enjoy some sunshine as well. Looking at winds not being quite as gusty as what we're seeing in southern Saskatchewan of a temperature at 18. So curl up with a book and some warm drinks tonight, Sam, and tomorrow get outside and enjoy the nice day.
If you absolutely insist, Ethan.
Well, I do. It's an order.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, before we leave you, fans of Paddington Bear are being invited to a new immersive adventure in London. Visitors will be able to step into the world of Britain's beloved fictional character.
So you start in Paddington Station, you go into the train, board the train, and that whisks you off into Windsor Gardens, where you disembark the train and you meet some of the most iconic characters from the film.
The Paddington Bear experience is a cross between a film set and a theater show and a party, complete with actual set locations and prop pieces from the two blockbuster movies. There are themed rooms, interaction, and of course, some marmalade sandwiches. The iconic character was created by late author Michael Bond in 1958. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.